I just changed the blade a while ago on this log. And if you look at it, you'll see real close right here the little marks. And you can actually feel how it kind of it's a, let's just call it a trench there, and it kind of sputters out. And, you know, then it eventually lines on out pretty good. And yeah. I'll get to that later. Whenever you change a blade, or at least whenever I change a blade, when you go into the log, the little guides sometimes will change over time. So whenever I did do it this time, and you can see it right there. What will happen when you come in, the blade will torque just a little. It doesn't seem like much, but you're talking about, this is a saber tooth from Norwood. You're talking about an extremely sharp, and it's brand spanking new, extremely sharp and aggressive, you know, blade. I mean, this isn't a hammer you're hitting this thing with. It's sharp. So what happens when it comes in? If the log rocks, vibrates, or the blade rocks or vibrates, it's going to hit different, and it's going to jerk the log, and that's what happened. You could sit there, and that's what I don't like, and that's why I lock them down so good. What I should have done, and what the minute it did, it only made 2 passes. Actually, I should have made 1. If you come and you check and see how far the blade is off the guides, and if I lift this up, it's not off very much that way. It's not off very much that way. It's too much, but it's not that much. But you're talking small distances here. There is a small amount. There is more. So it's probably not the blade, vibrating up and down, fluttering, so to speak. But if you push back, look how far that moves there. So what I need to do is take the little adjusting tool, and Norwood has, and you see how far back that is? What that's going to do is, when you're coming into this log, sometimes the blade might kind of jump ahead on this side, jump ahead on that, fall back on that side like that. Because there is a little bit of sway in these things. And if you pick up your pace, you push harder, which for me is hard to do. When it starts jerking around, it's hard for me to pick up the pace. Actually, most of the time I slow down. If you slow down, it'll stop that. The best thing to do is to come out here, shut the mill down right then, come out here, check your guide blocks, and adjust them. And if you adjust those guide blocks, what it's going to do is going to keep this blade from fluttering, and it's also going to keep it from torquing back. So in other words, it won't be supported back here, but it will be supported over there. So it kind of goes in at a little bit of an angle. Admittedly, not much, but it doesn't take much. With a sharp blade and a hard log, it'll bite in pretty quick. Okay, now that I've adjusted this one here, the back block, I pulled it forward a little bit, tightened this one up just a little bit, and that one over there, I probably should have adjusted it, but I didn't. It was real close. I mean, it wasn't that far off, but you can see how much better it cut. No gouges, no nothings, same log. Now, there's several things other, of course, that can do it, but for me, it's most of the time when I put on a new blade, and I'm calling it, this is, a saber tooth. This is one that I've sharpened. It is, you might as well call it a brand new blade. It's only been sharpened one time, but you could see it's little stained and whatnot. But that's just because it's a second time around, so to speak, for it. But if you don't tighten the band wheels up enough. That can also do the same thing if it stays too loose. But there, in possibly that could make it gouge. But in my doings, it's almost every single time it's going to be put on another blade, and just for whatever reason, I didn't check these because they will go out of adjustment. On what I have on mine, I have and I apologize for it looking so raggedy. It's used. I have 2 marks, and for, I'm going to say, however long this mill is, 10, I'm going to have to look it up one day, and I'm going to have to write it on something. 10 or 12 years, I have used that same mark. Now, I don't look at that mark. I do the number of rotations that it say, just like the guy told me a long time ago. I've forgotten his name, but he told me how to, it's in the book, but also I called up and he just, talking the way Norwood, customer service does, he just happened to mention it also. But I wasn't having trouble with the blades. He just, I guess, going above and beyond, maybe, I don't know. But once I established, all those years ago, I scored, I don't remember what I did it with, probably knife. I scored it in right there. Now this one right here, this other mark, is where I would always loosen it up off to. So if I'm back here and I go to crank up and I look, because most of the time I have the little orange thing on here when I loosen the blade. If for some reason I didn't put it, all I've got to do is just look right there. I can see my mark and I know that the blade is tightened. If it's way over here, I know the blade is loosened. Anyway, I got off track with, well, I guess it wasn't off track, but that right there is all it took, adjusting these things. It doesn't take very, very much. And you can get that thing, I mean, just as smooth as silk. Cutting wood really should be fun. I mean, if that blade's jumping all over and the boards are all whoppy-jawed, it's not fun for me. So I'll sit there and I'll piddle with it till I get it to where I like it. And then it's a lot of fun. I've got it down now to 14 by 14. And what I do earlier, when we were looking at this side, this is the side where I had the guide blocks out, and you can see the difference now. Huge difference. It doesn't take much to get that saw out of alignment, and the blade will jump, the saw will, everything will be jumping, and I just don't like it. Get it back in alignment and everything's run smooth. Earlier, I had the guide block way over here. That's because this is the butt end of the log, and I've really forgotten what it was, but it was close to like, it was maybe 27 inches or something. It flared out. I cut it, I mean, all the way to the ground. I tried to get every inch out of it for some reason. So it was really flared out. So I had to have this way over. And my point of this is, if once I get down like this, I will move this over, and I feel like it gives me more support and better control of the blade. So once I get down, I won't leave it way out here like it was a while ago. I only had it out here a while ago because of the flare. And once I cut all that off, and I mean, and you look at it, you can say, darn, that's a lot of wasted wood. Well, it was only wasted for about maybe 2 or 3 feet, and then it, you know how it works. But then I'll move it in to where I don't know, maybe an inch or two. That part don't really matter, I don't think. Don't matter to me. But anyway, there is right. You could see the. Try to get close. That was when it was out of adjustment. That is when it's in adjustment. And I could go through there and I could take off a 16th inch or a 30 eighth of an inch or whatever, and it would run true. It wouldn't cut through, as long as that thing is set right.